All right, Tosh, we are back to throwback time, and we go back to the same year as last week with John Smoltz. We go back to 2012, and we have a CBS announcer. The Red Smith group went with a long streak of CBS sports announcers, and Lesley Visser was one of those that year. But she was fantastic. I mean, she's had an incredible career. Very well known, has covered the top events
Yeah.
ever.
Everything from Final Four to Monday Night Football to Triple Crown, Olympics, the Super Bowl. I mean, you name it, she was part of it for sure.
Yeah, she was the real deal for sure, and is the real deal. And I certainly remember her growing up, and all through. I think anybody younger than us even will know Lesley Visser, and she was fantastic when she came to the banquet. She came as a speaker, and she lived up to that for sure, Tosh. I mean, just smooth and great message, and just from a unique point of view. Things weren't always like they seem, and she was able to overcome and really be a superstar, a rock star.
Well, and she paved the way for a lot of sportscasters we have today. I mean, 2009, that's not that long ago.
Right.
She became the first woman to be an analyst for an NFL game on TV, which that's crazy. I mean, it's really, truly crazy. She, 2006, she was recognized with the Pete Rozelle Radio Television Award by the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We can keep going here. American Sportscasters Association, #1 female sportscaster of all time. National Sports Writers and Sportscasters Association Hall of Fame in 2015, and the International Sports Hall of Fame in 2020.
It's pretty good, huh?
Yeah. It doesn't get much better than that, does it?
I mean, 2009, like you said, to be the first female to be a reporter in the NFL. I mean, you're right. That isn't that long ago. And I guess we've made pretty good strides. We can certainly do more.
Absolutely.
But you look at some of the great female reporters that have come through and are still doing the thing, thanks to Lesley Visser. That's pretty cool. And it's great to have Lesley in Appleton. It's always, I just have to pinch myself when some of these people that you grow up watching on TV, they're in our backyard speaking at the local hotel.
Yeah, it's iconic sports announcer. I mean, #1, it's one of the best, and right here in Appleton, Wisconsin, at the Red Smith Sports Banquet.
Tonight, we have the most highly acclaimed female sportscaster of all time with us. English degree from Boston College. She joined the Boston Globe in 1974 as a member of the sports staff. She has had a long and prestigious trailblazing career and has shown tremendous versatility. Only sportscaster in history who has worked on the network broadcast of the Final Four, Super Bowl, World Series, NBA Finals, Triple Crown, Olympics, U.S. Open, and World Figure Skating Championship. First and only woman to be recognized by the Pro Football Hall of Fame, 2006 recipient of the Pete Rozelle Radio Television Award, which recognizes longtime exceptional contributions to radio and television in professional football. 2009 voted the first female sportscaster of all time by the American Sportscaster Association. She carried the Olympic torch in 2004, hosted ABC coverage of the Millennium Tournament of Roses Parade, covered the fall of the Berlin Wall, focusing on how sports would change in East Germany. 1992 became the first woman to handle the post-game presentation ceremony at the 26th Super Bowl. That was Washington Redskins versus the Buffalo Bills. Well, with ABC Sports, first woman ever to be sideline reporter for Monday Night Football and a Super Bowl reporter for college football games, NFL games, contributor to the NFL Today, college basketball, figure skating, and U.S. Open tennis championships. reporter for the Super Bowl Today program, particularly on Super Bowl 35 and 38, worked with Brian Gumbel on HBO Sports, Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. These are just a few of the accomplishments that our speaker has achieved. One of the hardest things she had to get over in starting her career was that sign that said, "No women or children in the press box." And she certainly has defeated that, and we're so pleased to have with us tonight Lesley Visser. Lesley?
Wow. Thank you, Chuck. No wonder I'm exhausted. I have heard so much about this banquet. It is everything that I thought it would be. Many of your speakers are great friends of mine. Jay Billis and Greg Gumbel last year, he said, "You're just going to love it. The people are so real, and there are so many of you." I've given college graduation commencement addresses, and there weren't as many people as there are here. So thank you all so much for coming, and congratulations, especially to the parents and the coaches, and certainly the young students, the award winners. Chuck, I'm glad you mentioned one thing, because we've all been here for a while, and I've heard a lot of colleges mentioned. We got Nebraska, we got Marquette, we got Colgate. What we got over here? We got Wisconsin, we got Green Bay. We even had almost Michigan State. I mean, a little love for Boston College. Do you mind? Does nobody send their kids to Boston College? Okay, one of the award winners, Sigi, thank you. Where's Katie? Katie's undecided. But yes, Katie, talk to me afterwards. And the gamblers, you're not doing enough. Really, you had a list this long. Well, okay, should I try it without my glasses? I don't know. Did you see Meryl Streep the other night? She didn't have her glasses. She almost passed out. So I think I will go with them. But as I said, thank you to Mike Reese, to the sponsors, Chuck for introducing me. I'm so thrilled to be here, and congratulations to Amon Green. Amon, you can imagine this. He was a joy to watch and a joy to cover, so congratulations to you. And to John Smoltz, he is everything you've heard from the media. He was just so wonderful to be around. Matter of fact, in 1992, CBS, we did the World Series. I was assigned the Toronto dugout, and the great Jim Cott was assigned to your dugout. But I will never forget witnessing in person that gem of Game 5 against Jack Morris. Should he be a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
I think so, too. I think so, too. He terrified me, but I think he should be a Hall of Famer, as certainly will you, John. I first came to Green Bay in the late 70s. As Chuck mentioned, I was the first woman to cover the NFL, and I came here with the Boston Globe, and it was an immediate love affair. Anyone who knows me knows that for 35 years, when people ask me, "What's your favorite place in America?" I always say Lambeau in January. I do. I'm never colder, and I have covered games in Kansas City and Soldier Field and, even the old Cleveland Coliseum with that wind whipping off the lake, but I am never happier than I am here. People always ask, what are your favorite memories, moments in sports? And one of mine was certainly in 1996 when you trailed Carolina at halftime, but you came back to win to send the Packers to your first Super Bowl in 30 years. And one of my strongest memories is Reggie holding up the Hallis Trophy and running around the field as everyone stayed there. And the band played what, John Smoltz? Roll Out the Barrel. See, yes, you could have had a career here. I've actually, before that game, I have a picture at home where someone took a picture of me. Now, do you guys remember in '96? That was one of your -2 games. I mean, it was just so beyond freezing. And you're always on the field hours before the game, and someone took a picture of me sitting squished on the bench about 2.5 hours before the game between Chewy and Bag of Donuts. Now, is that a keeper for all time? I always loved coming here. Sometimes, you know, your airport would get snowed in, and John Madden would come by on the Madden Cruiser to baggage claim at O'Hare, and he would pick me up. And, you know, John, if John did anything, he lived it 100%. So always riding up, he would have a bag of the curds? Cheese curds. And he insisted that, like, you couldn't say no thank you. He insisted that you had to have a handful, have another handful. And of course, you know, he loved the tailgating here and the brats. I bet you didn't run out of brats when John Madden was here. I had one moment with Reggie White. Chuck was kind enough to mention that I was the first woman. So far only. I hope there'll be more women in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And the class I went in with was great. It was John Madden and Troy Aikman and Reggie White. And you might not know this, but Reggie actually had an awkward moment in his life. And this was, I don't know if you all remember, Reggie made a movie. I don't know if you guys, you probably didn't see it. Reggie made a movie, and he invited me to the premiere, which was in Los Angeles. I think there were about 45 people in the audience. Now, I don't want to say it wasn't the greatest movie, but Mike Holmgren was a janitor in the movie. So I don't think Reggie was going to threaten Denzel Washington, but he was he was such an ambassador, as you know. He was so great to be around. Well, like some of the people here who talked about their childhood, I wanted to be a sports writer from the time I was 10 years old, and the job did not exist for women. If there's one thing all of you can take from me tonight, I hope it's that it doesn't matter if you're male or female, if you're black, if you're white, if you're Hispanic or Native American. The job didn't exist when I wanted to be a sports writer, did not exist for women. And if there's one thing you can take from me, it's that it can happen. You can do it. There is no mountain high enough. You heard from Aman, you heard from John. You know, you have to name it to claim it. And I said to my mother, I want to be a sports writer. I was 10 years old. We were living in Cincinnati. And my mom said, instead of saying, oh, girls don't do that, you can't do that, she said, you know what? Sometimes you have to cross when it says don't walk. And it was very powerful for me, and I just was able to, you know, really have that dream and go after it. I was an unusual child. On Halloween, I would dress up as Sam Jones, you know, the Celtic backcourt. Great Sam Jones. You know, other little girls were going as Mary Poppins, and I would have my number 24 shirt and my high-cut cons. So I'm sure that was a little unusual in Cincinnati, Ohio, but you know, the parents and coaches, you're all so important to your families and to the young people that you have charge over, because you can shape them. You do shape them. They shaped probably all of us up here on the podium. As Chuck mentioned, yes, when I started, the credentials did say no women or children in the press box, which was so diminishing. You know, imagine you're going off to your job, and right there, on your credential, it says you're not really welcome. But the Boston Globe was so progressive, and they made me the first woman to cover the NFL, and it was the Patriots, and you know, they were really glorious to take that risk with me and for me. But I learned humility quickly. There were no provisions for equal access, maybe the first 8 or 9 years I covered the NFL. So I'd be out in the parking lot waiting for the athletes to come out, and I'd be out there by myself, freezing in Three Rivers or here in Lambeau, wherever it was. And I remember, actually, Mark and I were talking about this. There was a quarterback that you may not remember. He was with the Baltimore Colts. Of course, people just remember Johnny Unitas. But do any of you guys remember a quarterback, Burt Jones? Yeah, remember Burt Jones? Yeah, Burt Jones, great, from LSU. So Burt Jones, I was single at the Boston Globe, and Burt Jones, as you remember, was like a real good-looking guy, young quarterback. So now I'm out in the parking lot waiting for them to come out. It was after a Patriots game. And Burt Jones said, hey, have you ever been to Baltimore? You know, I could send you, it must have been Eastern Airlines then, you know, I'll send you a shuttle ticket, you know, you come on down. And I went into this thing, absolutely not, this is my job, I take it very seriously. And he finally hit me on the shoulder and said, hey, you're not that great. So I learned very quickly. I have lots of embarrassing moments if you want to hear them. My mom was a high school English teacher, so I have so much gratitude for all the teachers that, and sometimes you double as coaches. You really are so important to all of us. Why sports? I thought then, as I do now, I think sports is the greatest meritocracy in America. In sports, it doesn't matter where your father went to college. It doesn't matter how much money your mother had. You know, either Amon got the first down. By the way, isn't your memory of Amon Green that every time he carried the ball, he got 10 yards? I swear, that was my memory. But it wasn't it really. Really. Just great to watch. So, I mean, that was... Amon did that, you know, coming from Omaha. John threw his fastball by an awful lot of people and grew up, as he said, in modest circumstances in Michigan. And that really is what is just so great about sports. It's most of the people are all of them are self-made, and they do their jobs in public, and all of us, everyone critiques them. And I just always had tremendous admiration for that. When I was inducted into the Pro Hall of Fame, I got a little note from John Madden that I've always cherished. You remember this, okay, for when you go in the Hall of Fame? And John wrote me a note, and he said, you know, the Hall of Fame, it's not something you can be born into. It's not something you can buy your way into. It's something you have to earn your way into. And so I guess that kind of sums up my great respect I have for sports. You learn a lot, an awful lot about being around sports, and having covered all sports mostly at the highest level. I'll be covering my 32nd Final Four this year. I just Magic and Bird. I started with the Doctors of Dunk, the great Louisville team. But I've covered almost all of Mike Krzyzewski's career at Duke. And he teaches lessons that I just think can apply to everyone. Mike always says that what you do in a Duke uniform is what you will do in life. And he tells all his players that there are 5 important elements to you playing for Duke University. First of all is brand awareness. You are Duke, or you are GW, or you are Wisconsin. You must have goals. Goal setting. What do you want to accomplish? He says is the second element. You must put out an excellent product. You must compete and work very hard, and you must have mental toughness. Mike's father was an elevator operator in Chicago. His mother was a cleaning lady. But he went to West Point, and he believed above all else in personal responsibility. I covered, as I said, 25 years of Duke teams, and the greatest thing I ever heard Mike say, and all of you coaches will identify with this, he always used to say to his team, what is stronger, 5 fingers or a fist? Let's be a fist. And that, as you know, that is what the best teams do. Sports teaches you a lot about being a competitor. Red Auerbach, who of course earned so many titles as a coach, a general manager, the man who put together the greatest teams, including my beloved Sam Jones. Red Auerbach used to say simply, if you're going to compete, why not win? I was lucky living in Boston all those years. I got to cover all those great Celtic-Laker finals, and of course on to, well, now it's been revived, but it was really something to see that competition that great up close right in your own backyard. As a kid, I would take a bus to go sit in Fenway. By the way, I have one thing for all the mothers here, or single women. Is your mom still single, Mom? No, she's got Ken now, right? Okay, sorry, Ken. But I have one rule in life for all my women friends, and that is you must never love a man who doesn't love baseball. I know this might sound weird, but baseball is everything. It's passion, it's history, it's mathematics, it's debate. So I really believe, or maybe just because I'm born, bred, and bled to the Red Sox. By the way, John, I count you as a Red Sox, right? What was that? You were there for half an hour, right? But I count you. I count you as a Red Sox. Knowing Red Auerbach, you just got to learn so much from him, and you got to eat a lot of Chinese food and sit around and listen. But the best thing Red Auerbach ever taught me, he said, the correct actions in life are those that require no explanation and no apology. And would we all live like that? Coaches and athletes and all the winners here, you know, it takes great self-discipline, it takes great motivation, and sometimes it can come from the most unlikely source. I remember covering the 1987 NCAA tournament. It was the regional final. Providence had beaten Wimp Sanderson's great Alabama team, and he was in the regional final against Georgetown to go to the Final Four. Now, I don't know if you follow college basketball all that well, but in 1987, Providence was nothing. No one had heard of them. Rick just used the three-point shot to get anywhere. They really weren't of any note. But here they were in the regional final against Georgetown, and they led at the half. And at halftime, Rick Pitino didn't know what to say. You've all seen Rick on the sideline. He's crazy. And Rick didn't know what to say to his team to get to the Final Four. So he looked around the locker room. He didn't know what to say. He had this player, Jacek Duda. I swear that was his name. And he looks around the locker room and he finally says, Jacek. Jacek was from Poland. He says, Jacek, who's the most famous person in Poland? And Jacek said, I don't know, Coach. The Pope? Rick said, you, 20 more minutes, you, Jacek. So you just, you don't know. You have to have passion. You have to have a drive. When people ask me why I do what I do, I say Villanova 66, Georgetown 64. Because to me, I thought that was everything that sports could be. Georgetown was defending national champion. They were Secretariat. Villanova was nothing, the lowest seed ever to get to the tournament. And Rolly Massimino told his team, you're going to have to play a perfect game, and they darn near did. They missed one shot in the second half. And I just thought that is what sports could be. That's what all of you coaches and all you young athletes who have been honored, you know that it's teamwork, it's believing, it's knowing somewhere inside you that you can produce and you will produce. As I said, I've had so many great memories. The other great, Red Smith, not the one we celebrate tonight, but was a great, as you probably know, great sports writer for the New York Times. And Red Smith at the Kentucky Derby every year, he would pick a young writer, and he would ask that person to walk the infield, which, you know, at the Derby, now it's all corporate, but it used to be just insane, 40,000 kids on the infield. So Red Smith asked me, did I want to walk the infield with him? And I was so blessed, and I said, gosh, yes, of course. And we're walking through there, and Red was elderly then. And he said, Lesley, I'm going to give you one piece of advice for your career, but actually for your life. He said, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, look around and make a memory. And that, I think, is so, I mean, I have the snapshots in my head of Amon, of John, of so many. By the way, I do the NCAA tournament with Vern Lundquist and Bill Raftery every year, and sometimes we're blessed to have Wisconsin. But I will tell you, it is exhausting when Bo Ryan and Bill Raftery go out at night because you cannot stay up later than Bo Ryan and Bill Raftery. But he is a treasure. He is a treasure. As I mentioned, do I know you guys well enough for another embarrassing moment? I was afraid of that. Now, when I say this, you have to think that you've had really embarrassing moments too. And if you were sitting up here, you would tell me yours. Because most people, when I tell this one, they say, oh God, I've never had anything like that. So I went from the Boston Globe to CBS. And CBS covered everything really that I had covered at the Globe. I had done Wimbledons and US Opens and lots of Final Fours and World Series in football. But I had just gone to CBS, and I was at the US Open tennis, Did I mention I'd just gone to CBS to television? Okay. I had no television experience. I've been at the Globe for 11 years, no television experience. So they assigned me to the U.S. Open, and this was in the early mid-'80s when there was a great tennis player from Prague named Hana Mandlikova. She, of course, Martina was the most famous. But Hana Mandlikova was actually a very good player. And she had a great run that summer. She won the U.S. Open that year. But this was one of the early matches. And they said, okay, Lesley, go out to court 16 and interview Hana. She just won her match. So I went out there, and I'm not nervous enough, right? I had just gone to television. So I'm so nervous. And Brent Musburger says, okay, and now let's go out to Lesley Visser. And I said, hi, I'm here with Hana Mandlikova. Hana, you went from 50th in the world up to 5th. You know, how do you account for your sudden rise in the rankings? And Hana said, she was from Prague, right? Hana says, well, I don't know. I think it is my new couch. So I thought, I don't know, maybe she's sleeping better or something. Network television, right? So I say, oh, did you get some new furniture? Right. And she looks at me and she says, don't be ridiculous, Billie Jean King, my new coach. That's right. That's right. So, you can withstand anything in your life. God, that was so embarrassing. Well, I've lived and I've learned. And my own philosophy comes from the great Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, nothing great can be accomplished without enthusiasm. I've served as a board member for the Jimmy V. Foundation for Cancer Research for almost 20 years now, and you might remember Jimmy V. quoted Ralph Waldo Emerson in his ESPY speech that was just 3 months before he died. But it's true. Whatever you go after, live it and love it. I will finish by telling you that the greatest thing I think I ever learned in my almost 40 years now of covering sports was one year at Wimbledon. Billie Jean King, who was really my idol besides Sam Jones, who, by the way, if you ever see him, he begs me not to tell that story anymore about how every Halloween, but I loved him. But Billie Jean, I think, was really my idol. And one year at Wimbledon, you know, she was always in the Wimbledon final, Billie Jean King, always in the Wimbledon final. And so one year I said to her over there, I said, you know, Billie Jean, what is the pressure of always being in the Wimbledon final? And you know how sometimes you can hear something and it actually changes the chemistry of your brain? Billie Jean looked at me and said, are you kidding? Pressure is a privilege. And I've always, ever since that day, that's how I've tried to embrace it. And I hope for all of you that that's maybe something you can carry. So tonight, I thank you for the pressure and the privilege. Thank you.
Please subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell so you'll get notified when we post another great episode or interview. Download the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for your support.